Mics are live, 30
Is that
seconds.
the one you use?
No.
Okay.
That's an odd wide shot.
Yep,
Because you had me in it before.
yeah.
10.
Oh, this is exciting.
It is.
Take it.
It's just me now.
Yeah, just you.
Bro-
no.
What? Brothers and sisters.
No, you wait till the space.
Oh, where's the space? Now?
No.
Now, right?
No.
No.
Now.
Brothers and sisters, welcome to Penn Sunday School. It's Pip the Magic Dragon. Standing in for people who are not here. Now, live from the Show Creator Studios in Las Vegas, here's your host, Preaching Love. It's Penn Gillette.
Yeah, now you got the space to fill here.
What happens now? Oh, this is... What, I should have been still talking here? Ta-da!
This is your host, Penn Gillette, Preaching Love. As you can hear, we have Godot is in Thailand.
Oh, fancy.
Yeah.
That's nice. Where's Donnelly?
He's working on Fool Us.
How is he? What's he doing?
But I've pulled away from one project of mine to do another project of mine. So that's what he's doing now.
Very good. And I am not doing anything, which is why I'm here.
Oh, you're here. That's very nice. It's very nice. We've never done just a show, the two of us. Of course, Reddy Rich is over there.
Reddy Rich is here.
I want to tell you, Reddy Rich may be off the deep end today. What'd you say when I first came in and asked you how you were doing, Reddy?
I feel good.
Oh, my God.
Papa got a brand new bag.
Wow, never seen him like this.
Living in America.
Uh-oh. What happened?
This is a man's world.
Oh,
I look good. I feel good. I smell good. And I make love good. Ha ha!
he does smell good.
That's the.
I came in today and there was a delightful smell in the studio.
That's him doing, James Brown,
Right.
a famous appearance of James Brown on CNN. Is that what it was on?
Yes,
And he was perhaps medicated.
we believe so.
Yeah.
We do.
We do.
Oh, Reddy Rich has got a little buddy too.
He's got a mouse in his pocket.
Reddy Rich has got a mouse.
We were
in his
talking about
pocket.
how Piff has trouble not. You're not good with first person singing.
No, whenever people talk to me about anything I'm doing, I say, well, what we're going to do is, and it's because I usually have a white dog with me at all times, who apparently is a more important business partner than I first thought.
Really more important.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
See,
the main draw.
I don't think of him as being part of your career at all
Really?
because I don't really relate much to dogs, as you know.
As I know.
You've seen me around Mr. Piffles. People swoon at Mr. Piffles. I am, at my best, indifferent.
At your very best, indifferent. And you look at me with nothing but confusion when I have to take care of dog-related matters.
It's disgusting to
It
me.
is disgusting, I agree. But, it's like that, the guy shoveling the elephant dung in show business joke. That's what my career is.
What? And get out of show business.
Exactly.
And
Although Jade has it worse than I do.
she does.
I now pass on those duties to Jade.
She has to do Jade Showgirl and
One of the last showgirls left in Las Vegas.
also
And Mr. Piffles is carer, is
Yeah.
the most polite way to put that. Yeah, he shit in her hand once in the airport. I mean, I'd be done. I'd be out. Literally, she's just carrying him along and he just shit in her hand.
it would be the last thing it would be his terminal breath.
Yeah.
To do that with you.
It was like, shit, done. What happened to Mr. Piffles? He shit in Jay's hand.
That he's dead.
Yeah, he's dead. Yeah, I don't think I could do that to many people and still be in show business. Whereas that dog,
I know. It's amazing.
oh, it's amazing.
I have, I believe, in my show business career, shit in nobody's hand.
I believe it's in the low tens for me. It's certainly in the low tens. Yeah, I think I definitely put up with much more from Mr. Piffles than you would put up with from Teller.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
My Teller and I both have to be on very good behavior because I think each of us lost our patience with the others in the 70s.
In the 70s. And you've kept it going.
Right, with very, very good behavior.
Right. So you understand how important it is sometimes
To not shit in someone's hand.
To not shit in the
when
hand.
you want to keep your job.
Are you listening to this, Mr. Piffles? No, you're not. Because you know there is nothing I can... You can shit in every hand you like. You will still be employed in the Piff the Magic Dragon show. I will
Well, do
continue.
you want to? I mean, is this the equivalent of breaking some sort of deep magician's code? You did try to replace Mr. Piffles, did you know?
Oh yeah.
And you can talk about that?
Oh yeah. I don't care. Yeah.
Okay.
Even if it was the equivalent of breaking some magician's code, I still wouldn't have any interest in not breaking that code. Yeah, I got a Mr. Piffles number 2.
Called
Well,
Tui.
well, what happened is before I was incredibly rich and successful as I am now, and could afford all the chihuahuas I ever needed, I used to be asked to go to Australia and America, and I couldn't bring Mr. Piffles with me, so I would borrow dogs all over the world, and they were all terrible. They were all, once I turned up to Sweden, and they'd sent me a picture of this dog, and I said, I'm pretty sure it's a very large dog. And they said, no, it's a small dog. Look how small it is in the photo. And I said, no, that dog is far away. And there's a large dog. And they said, no, it's tiny. I said, why is he standing next to such a small oven? Because he was in the kitchen and everything. So I arrived, and sure enough, the dog was enormous. It was...
Now, what do you mean by enormous? How big? Because, you know, my children have a dog that is a full-size standard poodle. And he is enormous.
He is enormous. I would say 2/3 your dog's size.
Oh, my goodness.
So probably the size of Moxie. I mean, about a large dog. A very large dog. I mean, I had to use 2 arms to hold the dog, and I was struggling.
And you were having to then do your routine with him.
I had to do my routine, and I got Mr. Piffles outfits in a variety of sizes, all of which were a stretchable material, and he was in the largest of the large sizes, and he was stretching it to breaking point. So I staggered on stage really with this dog. I do my act. I open up my tacular, which as some of you might not know, is like a case on legs that like flip out. So it's expensive. So I flip out my tacular. I managed to. What's Freddie?
I was just flipping out.
He's really. What did you eat? What did you eat today?
Nothing.
Oh my God. Seltzer. There's something in the seltzer, boys. So I stagger over to this tacular. I put the dog in there, and instantly it just goes, just like evaporates on stage. My $1,000 tacular.
Was the dog embarrassed by
No,
being big?
he's just shit in my hands. He doesn't care. So I say the next day, listen, I can't use this dog again. He's already broken my case for the day. So they bring me in a cat. So I did my act with a cat. Now, I don't know whether you know about cats, but cats do not care about heights. One advantage to a dog is if you put a dog in a high table, the dog will not jump off the table because the dog is afraid of heights. Whereas this cat just leapt off straight away immediately. And I ended my show at that time by playing Mr. Piffles like the bagpipes. And when I did that to the cat, he locked his claws into my skin, used that as leverage, and shot out of the costume, leaving me holding a little empty dragon outfit.
Did the audience enjoy it?
Oh, they loved it. Yeah, they did. I didn't. So we decided to get a new Mr. Piffles to replace the existing one, because when I was in Australia one time, I used one dog that was actually good at magic. By good at magic, I mean sat there and did nothing. A lot of people think Mr. Piffles is drugged. Way too expensive. It's like, the idea of like using plants every night in the show. Way too expensive.
It's only financial.
Yeah.
When anybody asks about plants, I just say, is the magician the richest magician in the world? If no, there's no plants. If yes, there may be plants. Maybe. You're not guaranteed.
You're not guaranteed, but there may be. So we don't drug Mr.
Question
Piffles.
is, do you want to take $4,000 a week from the amount you make in order to have a person in the audience that won't see you do a pass when you do the card trick?
Well, this comes to the David Copperfield thing when he does 21 shows a week. Now I'm sure he gets to 20 shows, and he goes, "Oh, I should really stop. This is enough shows this week." And then somebody just puts, I don't know what it is, like $1 million on the table and says, "You're just going to walk away from this money, David? Just say goodbye to the money, David." And he's like, "Oh, go on, I'll do another show."
Larry Flint, you know who Larry Flint is?
Yeah.
Larry Flint used to get celebrities to pose naked, right? Female celebrities to pose naked. And he said he would get pretty amazing people to do it. And there was an interview with him that I remember reading where he said, if you talk to their managers or their agents or you call them up, they will say no. If you show up to where they are with a camera and $1 million in cash and show it to them, many fewer people will refuse.
Oh, yeah. When the money's on the table.
On the table. You can walk
On the
away with it
table.
now. Now, we did a thing, Teller and I may have told this before. Did I tell you about being paid in cash before? I don't think so. Teller and I had realized, I played this gig at CBGB. A band asked me to play bass with them, punk band. So I played punk band at CBGB, played bass with them for the night. And at the end of the night, I went back. I was on Broadway at the time. I went backstage and the band said, "Oh, good show, went really well." Then they handed me my cut for the night for playing bass,
Oh.
which was $300.
Oh,
They
cold
put
hard cash.
$300 in my hand. And I went, I haven't been paid for anything in 7 years. For 7 years, no one has ever given me money for anything. It's amazing. And I had that $300 in my hand. I put it in my pocket. $300.
Oh, yeah.
That was a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's a lot of walking around money. I went, wow. Now, I'd taken a limo from Broadway down to CBGB. And I had taken the limo back to my apartment. And it was all paid for by some mythical, Equicorp that I work for. Whatever the corporation is that owns Penn and Teller.
I have a very similar corporation that I am indebted to heavily.
Yeah. Equicorp. Is that the bad guy in every movie? Isn't it called
I
Equicorp?
believe it is, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Equicorp.
It's called Piffy Corp in my movie.
And
It doesn't sound so bad, but it's worse. It's much worse.
so I got this money, and for years afterwards, I was talking about the time I'd gotten paid.
Yeah.
And everybody would say to me, "You get paid and get paid very well. You're on Broadway. You're the producer. They never ever hand me cash, ever. Never hand me cash. If they do hand me cash, they hand me cash to give to someone else. Here's money to give in a tip to that guy who's driving to the airport. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're just a holder at that point.
I'm just holding. I'm just
Just
a wallet.
passing it along.
I'm just a wallet.
Yeah.
Nothing more than a wallet. So I was saying that to Teller over and over again, how incredible it was to get paid in cash. And Teller had just, he had gone that same amount of time, except he didn't get money for the gig. So he had gone all this time. So we're working at Bally's, and Teller said to me one day out of the blue, we were in the celebrity room, where Sinatra worked, everybody worked. We're working that room, and Teller says one night, kind of out of the blue, he goes, we're playing a casino. They have cash here. So we went to our boss, who now works for us, but he was our boss at the time, Joel Fishman, and Teller said to him, tonight, we want to be paid in cash. And Joel Fishman went, okay, just like that. Like
yeah.
Nothing to it.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing to it. So we don't think much more about it, right? And then we finish up our show, right? We finish up our show, and Joel comes in with a security guard who is armed. And he has with him like a drug deal attaché case, right? And he goes,
This is the greatest.
he says, here you go, boys. Because, we're,
He says, "Here you go, boys."
yeah. I'll tell you, what's his name? The Irish comic, Billy Connolly.
He's not Irish. He's Scottish.
Same thing.
It's God damn. Oh, this is.
He is Scottish. He is Scottish. I know that. I know the difference. $5. Okay, so Billy Connolly said to me he was out with George Harrison, right? And they were out at a restaurant. George Harrison of the Beatles. And they're sitting there ordering their dinner, and the waiter says to Billy Connolly about George Harrison, what does this man want? What does that man want? Because George was looking somewhere else or something. Does that man want some wine or something? And afterwards, Billy Connolly said to George Harrison, I can't believe you were called that man. And George Harrison said, it was so wonderful. We were called the boys for so long. What are the boys? And, they do that. People younger than me and Teller say,
Yeah.
Put the boys in the dressing room. Let's get the boys out to the car.
Well, you said the bad boys are magic.
Yeah.
You brought it on yourself, really.
I'm not saying that anything that's bad in my life is anybody's fault but mine. I don't have a dog or a showgirl to pin
Let's
it
go
on.
back to the story when somebody came with an armed security guard
Yeah.
and said, "Here we go, boys," with an armload of cash.
Here you are, boys. And Teller went, open the.
Oh, sorry. He did what? 'Cause, wait, he went that or he did that?
He did that.
He did that, right.
Okay.
Teller clipped around like a tiny horse.
But only 2 steps.
He was so happy.
Opened it, and there was, like a Tarantino film, there was a attaché case full of cash. And Joel said, we don't have the exact tally of what you would get, but we're sure this is it within a couple $100. And we said, okay. And then Teller just kind of went ready rich for a little while. And
This is what happened to him this morning. Did somebody give you an attaché full of money?
I wish.
I'm not sure I believe him.
and Teller just said, come here, to like everybody that was around. And then he would just peel off bills. Like, I don't even know how many. He didn't know how many. Maybe it was $200, $300, whatever it was. He would just peel it off and hand it to everybody in the room. And just said different amounts. There was no sort of fairness. There was no equity. Just whatever he seemed to feel like, he just handed to our crew and said, this is a bonus. Just spend it. It's just a bonus. Spend it. And then he took a big wad of cash and said, Penn, put this in your pocket and go out and buy stuff. And then he took another amount, similar, but not counted, not weighed, not figured, put it in his own pocket and said, I'm going to go buy stuff. And then he looked at it and said, this is what we did for our work tonight. This is what we got paid. And I went, yeah. And then he said, what do we do now? And Joel said, you just close the suitcase and give it back to us.
You didn't get to keep the suitcase.
Well, we got the suitcase.
Oh, you got the
They
suitcase.
bought the suitcase. We could keep it. But he said, we'll just take it back to the thing and cut a check. And we said, okay. And he said, how much did you take? And Teller said, I don't know.
He made it rain.
He made it right.
And Teller said, okay, well, whatever it is now, the amount less than it was before is what we took. And Joel went, yeah. Everybody had that mathematical word problem set. Penn and Teller got X amount of money. After Teller played with the money, they then had Y amount of money. X minus Y equals the amount of money Teller played with, right? So they took it back down, and then a check was cut, and all the people that work with us took their, Equicorp.
The yes men.
Took their cut. Yeah, the yes men.
The yes men took their money.
Yeah.
And you never saw it again.
No.
Oh, the look of horror and joy on your face as you retold that story was one of the greatest moments of my life.
It's great.
Well,
You don't get paid at the Flamingo, do you?
we didn't get played at the Flamingo, but whenever we're on the road, not in theaters, not in casinos, but when we do comedy clubs, every week I am asked the question, how much cash do you want? And every week I look at them going, what do you mean? I don't want cash. Why are you giving me cash? But apparently people come in and they take tens of thousands of dollars in cash. What I really want to do is put on my rider that I'd like to be paid in gold and have somebody just shave off a golden nugget onto a tiny micro scale.
We were asked to play Sun City in South Africa way back when Little Steven, Miami Steve, and Run DMC and Lou Reed and all these guys did a
ain't gonna play Sun City.
exactly. They did that song. You remember that song? You're too young.
I'm too young.
That's what it sounds like without the response section.
Yeah.
I've never seen him like this.
Let's give it with the response section.
Ain't gonna play Sun City.
That's a pretty good response section.
Yeah. Hey.
What?
Oh, okay. I was going to get off my cloud. I thought we were rolling with the response, but that is not the. Hey.
Hey.
You.
Oh, there we go.
Get off of my cloud. Hey.
Hey.
You.
Me? What?
Never
Get
mind.
off my...
Okay, so they had this whole thing. Now Sinatra, I shouldn't say who did play Sun City, but there were people that played Sun City, which is a big resort
Yeah.
that was with apartheid, was in South Africa, and some American. Now, I never found out whether Little Steven, Lou Reed, and Run DMC were asked to play Sun City. You know, it could be a little bit like you saying, "I won't be president of the United States. I'm just not going to do it."
I'm just not going to do it.
No.
I've stepped down from it.
Yeah.
It's not an option I'm going to consider.
And we haven't even said, is he American born? Has he been elected? And he's just not going to.
Too bad.
But maybe they were all asked. Maybe they were all asked. I don't know. I'll tell you one thing. You could not do worse. So we were, while that record was out, we got an offer to play Sun City.
Yeah.
Okay? And the agent called up and said, we have a very lucrative offer to play Sun City. I'm assuming you're turning it down. I said, no. We are not turning it down. We are not turning it down. I just want you to send over this rider to them. Tell them when we'll play and say that Penn and Teller's crew and all the travel and all the lodging will be paid by Sun City. And the crew will be paid their usual fee, and we'll get our travel. And Penn and Teller will do it for $500 a week each. That's what we'll get for the whole week at Sun City, $500. And then in the rider, you put decaffeinated tea, decaffeinated coffee, caffeine-free Diet Coke, and equal rights for all people living in that country. I said, just put that in our rider, because maybe, just maybe, they don't notice.
Right. Maybe, yeah.
And they sign it, and then for the rest of our lives, people would go, we'd be on Letterman, and they go, we'd be on, Fallon or something. They go, that wasn't a very good spot, but they ended apartheid. That's okay.
How was Penn and Teller? I was a baggy 45, but they did get equal rights for everyone in the country.
Exactly.
3 stars.
Exactly. Yelp would be full of that. Comedy, not good. Magic, not good. Equal rights for all people, very good.
Very good.
Very good.
Parking was minimal at best. So you send the rider over.
I'm not sure that happened.
Why not?
Because when I tell
This is the problem with yes men.
When I tell my agents to do something, it's very likely they tell me they do it and don't.
Oh, goddamn yes.
Do you
men.
think that you're like with Brillstein or something?
Yeah, I am with.
Do they do anything they tell you to do?
No, I don't believe so.
They don't believe. And you give them absolute commands.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I say I want you to immediately pick up the phone, and immediately call this person, and immediately deliver the following message.
Yeah.
And they immediately don't do it.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Immediately ignore me.
Why would they listen to you?
Yeah, what do I know?
Because if you were a real grown-up, right?
Right.
You wouldn't have them working for you.
No, at all. If I could deal with any sort of conflict,
Right.
then at no point would I need a manager.
Exactly. Exactly. Which is why the very fact that you have a manager proves to the manager that they don't need you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that they're in charge. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can blame another evil on the management because had it not been for them, you would have ended apartheid in South Africa many years ago.
Yeah, exactly. And, Nelson Mandela, instead of like being in Bono's show, would be in our show.
Now, let's have a hypothetical here.
Okay.
Okay.
I also told them when Oliver Stone cast me in a movie, I said, call Oliver Stone and say, are you sure you mean the big one and not Teller? Are you sure of that? Because Teller did a good audition, Penn did a very, very bad one. Are you sure you're right? And they called back and said, yeah, we called him, and you're the one he wants. They didn't do that.
They did not do that.
No, they didn't do that.
No. So you submit the rider.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. But let's say hypothetically.
Hypothetically, you submit the rider.
Mm-hmm.
The gig comes back. They say, yeah, we're going to do it. Part of you guys are wish I'd ask for more money, but whatever, whatever. You go over there, you walk into your dressing room, you see the decaffeinated tea, you see the decaffeinated coffee, you even see the decaffeinated Diet Coke.
Uh-huh.
You see the audience out there. At what point do you ask, do you have equal rights for all people?
You'd have to have when I toured Europe with the Residents, the avant-garde band out of San Francisco. I toured Europe with them. That's when I first played the Hammersmith Apollo. But we did like 11 countries and 30 shows in 32 days or something. We were changing every day. And it was a full moving rock and roll tour. And our tour crew was the Sex Pistols tour crew. We had actually Road Ant, who was the famous roadie from the Sex Pistols, Rodent. He was on the tour with us. And he would set up the full rig in bondage pants with his knees tied together. He would be setting up his whole day, right? He would do stuff with his feet cuffed together. He would set up the whole thing and tear it down.
That seems practical.
And that was when I would watch every day, our tour manager, right, and the hotel manager, every single day would be screaming at each other. You broke the fucking, no, you broke the minibar, you're going to pay for it. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, screaming in the lobby. And then bellhop standing in front of the van and our tour manager screaming, run him over, just run him over. And every morning smashing stuff. I mean, the band, who were anonymous, the residents, and me were never a problem. But the crew were out of their mind monsters, right?
Ready right now.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, and I realized at that point that these two people, the hotel desk manager and the rock and roll tour manager, had been fighting the exact same way since grade school. I realized that those two people, since there were crayons in front of them, had been having the same conflict. And every hotel manager hated every rock and roll tour manager, and every rock and roll tour manager hated every hotel manager. And every morning throughout the world, these two people, who are the same person, whether there's 10,000 of them, they're the same person, like some sort of Star Trek clone thing, had been fighting the same way. Well, that tour manager was one of the most overworked and over-medicated people I've ever seen in my life. I don't think he ever slept. He was just always screaming all day trying to get that show on. And the rider we had, because we were, 20 people touring Europe, all different countries. The rider we had was a couple pages. And on page 3 of the rider, okay, there was a specific brand of yogurt, a flavor and a brand of yogurt.
To the English speaking, Penn means yogurt.
Okay, yes. There was one little container of yogurt, okay? Yeah. And
wait, just one container?
One container of yogurt. One single container of a certain flavor of a certain brand of yogurt.
Well, so a 4-pack divided into one container?
Yes.
Okay.
One container. And the tour manager would arrive at the gig, run into the dressing room, open the refrigerator, just shuffle through till he found that one container, and then say, fine. And I say, who wants that yogurt? He goes, it's the way I check the rider. If they got that thing there, they've got everything else. So what I would do with apartheid is I would get to the dressing room and I would go to the refrigerator and I would say, oh, they have this one brand of strawberry. What's an English brand of yogurt?
Danone.
Danone is also American. I thought it was more Englishy.
I don't eat. I'm not a big yogurt fan.
Okay, well, I'm just
Talk
asking
to me about some ice cream.
Okay, what's an English brand of ice cream?
Ben & Jerry's.
No. I'll tell you one thing about the English. You guys can do butter.
Oh, yeah, we love... Well, we also have teas in it. Butter.
What'd I say?
Well, you say butter. And this is where you see the English in this country who have given up. They are so water and butter. They're the ones who gave in. Everyone else is still soldiering on. Can I have some butter, please? What? Butter. What? Butter. What? Butter. I shall never give up. You might take everything, but you will never take my butter from me.
Butter.
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 There we go.
Butter. Now, I say water.
Water.
And I say bottle.
No, you just said water.
How about bottle? Are you happy with my bottle?
Not really.
How do you say bottle?
Bottle.
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 There we go. You nailed it.
Bottle.
Finally.
Okay.
My 4 years hasn't been in vain in this country.
So I would go I would go backstage
Yeah.
at Sun City. I ain't gonna work Sun City.
Hey.
I would go backstage. At
Hey.
hey,
What?
You.
You're going to go backstage at Sun City.
I'm gonna reach in there and go. They've got the Dannon strawberry yogurt and the proper butter
And the butter.
and the butter.
And the decaffeinated Diet Coke.
So
It's a
let's
different brand, by the way.
What is?
Dannon, for us, is Dannon, and yours is
Danone.
Oh,
And
we've
you like this? The top brand is Müller.
Muller.
Mueller.
Muller.
It's got an umlaut in it.
It has. We ignore it.
Mueller.
Muller.
Mueller.
Muller. Even on the adverts. Even on the adverts in England, they call it Muller. They gave up a long time ago.
So for Germans living in England, they're broken faster than English living in America?
Oh, way quicker. Way quicker. So you would open that refrigerator. You would see the beverages before you.
All laid out,
All laid out.
proper amounts.
Yeah.
When I went to do Cirque du Soleil, which we did the other day
did,
together, I went back into my dressing room. Did you have a dressing room?
No.
Of course not.
I
And
barely had a table space. It was for me and my yes man. It was one table space for me and my yes man together.
and you had communal snacks, is that right?
Yeah.
No individual snacks.
0 individual snacks.
I had a pod coffee maker,
Yeah.
a box of decaffeinated coffee pods,
Yeah.
and Pellegrino water,
Yeah.
all there ready for me to go.
I think it's fair to assume that the listeners know that we are at different points in our show business career. I think most people you were playing 1,400 seats a night at the Penn and Teller Theater at the Rio of Las Vegas. I'm at the Bugsy's Cabaret Room in the Flamingo, scraping by with 200.
And 200 people who adore your show.
They do.
And how often after the show do they say they're there because Penn Jillette told them to go?
Almost every single minute.
Good. That's the way it should
I am skimming the froth off the Penn and Teller audience.
be. It is people love your show. So
So you wouldn't open the refrigerator.
and I would say, well, equal rights, good.
They've got it.
Yeah, they got it.
We can go out tonight
Now that is the story.
and earn our $500 cash money.
That is the story. No, it wouldn't be. It would be like $75.
Why?
Depending how many shows we did. I said $500 a week.
You said, what? Yeah.
$500 a week each.
What, you're not going to play the whole week?
That's what I'm saying.
You just got equal rights for the country. You're just going to... Oh, no, we're only doing afternoon then. We're leaving. Our work here is done.
Yeah, well, like Sinatra with Sammy in Vegas.
Oh, he did a good thing, didn't
He
he?
did a really good thing there.
Yeah.
And but I don't think the agent didn't pass that on. They didn't. They didn't call up the guy there and say, "Listen, your Krugerrands are no good. They want equal rights for everybody." They didn't say
They
that.
didn't even fax it through.
No.
And then wait for the phone call. What? Okay, good news. You can do Diet Coke. I'll take it back to them.
Yeah. And I don't imagine they even listened to the rest of the conversation.
No.
You know, and for a while we were at ICM with the famous agent Sam Cohn, and Sam Cohn famously never said goodbye, just hung up the phone when he thought the conversation was over. And so I would, if Teller and I were on a call, I would try to show off to Teller and hang up before Sam, which is really hard. You had to be aggressively rude. You had to wait till he was going, okay, we'll get that. Hang up on him. Also, Sam Cohn would eat paper during meetings.
Eat paper.
Yeah. While you were talking, he would rip off little pieces of the contract, put it in his mouth, and chew on it while you were talking. And he used scissors to cut the tassels off his loafers.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, business moves for... Why doesn't somebody make a book of this? It's just full of all these, like, hey, here's, like, how you should win in meetings. Just eat the paper.
But there's there's a story, the Van Halen brown M&Ms thing that's talked about how crazy Van Halen was and how stupid they were. I've been told that was one of those rider checkers.
I thought that was.
Yeah,
We have our... Do you know what our rider checker is? 2 white towels. Yeah, that's the level of show business we've ascended to.
Sammy Kershaw is a picture of Bugs Bunny in the dressing room.
Who's that?
Sammy Kershaw,
Who's Sammy Kershaw?
country western guy.
But is he the son of Doug Kershaw?
I don't think so.
Or unrelated? Kershaw is a common name?
I wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
How far would you go? Oh, he's gone a reasonable distance. I think that's far enough.
Okay. We want to talk about some.
By the way, I did get a new dog. Yeah, he's fine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was how we started all this.
Yeah, let's finish that. How is Tui?
He's terrible at show business. He's a great dog. He wakes up every day like he's in a musical. Literally just bounces out of bed, happy and delighted
No,
to
he
be
doesn't
alive.
literally bounce out of bed.
He literally bounces out of bed.
Okay.
I have a bed, and he wakes up and he bounces out of bed. How more literal? He couldn't do it any less literally. The dog literally bounces. He is on the bed and he leaps in the air, and he leaps in the, and then when he lands, he's not in the bed anymore. So he's gone out of the bed. He's literally bounced out of bed.
And he loves his life.
He just loves his life. Runs around. He's just so happy. He is the happiest creature I've ever met in my life, and therefore terrible at show business, because to be in show business, you must have suffered greatly. Otherwise,
So you got him. Where'd you get Tui?
I got him from a breeder. Another mistake. Mr. Piffles is a rescue dog. Ah, another great press opportunity I didn't realize would happen. So Mr. Piffles was abused for the first 2 years of his life, and was a quivering wreck when I first got him.
Do you know how he was abused?
But I don't know. Getting punched in the face by a small child. Who, you know.
But if you find out,
Yeah.
couldn't you create another? I didn't even say that. I didn't even say what I just said. I didn't say.
Well, Barbara Streisand just cloned her dog.
Yes, $50,000.
I'm up for that. That is that. I mean, Piffles definitely brings in that much money. I would, without even thinking about it, give somebody $50,000 cold hard cash.
But this is the problem with Hitler.
What's that? What, really?
Yes.
What, that you lost his dog and wanted to clone him?
No. Blondie was the name of his dog. Did you know that?
What, the band?
Hitler's dog was named Blondie.
Okay.
And the band is named after Hitler's dog.
I did not know that.
Yes, it is. When they play secret gigs, when they used to play secret gigs, they would play under the name Hitler's dog.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, the problem with Hitler, like, say you want to, and I know you do, say you want to clone Hitler.
I believe that should have started one of the problems with Hitler.
No, the problem.
The problem. All right, fine.
Let's say, just hypothetically, or maybe it's true, that you want to clone Hitler.
Yeah.
Do you want to clone Hitler?
Not
We
particularly.
want to clone Hitler.
Okay.
Right. We? Why is we?
He has a mouse in his
That's
pocket.
what he said to say.
Okay.
Yes, man.
Yes,
Would
man.
you get in touch with Sun City and tell them my rider includes? Anyway, you get some DNA
Yeah.
from Hitler,
Yeah.
and you get an egg that you can strip out the DNA and put Hitler's DNA in, and you have that mother bring Hitler cloned to term. Even at that point, at the birth of Hitler clone, you have had so many environmental differences just within the womb that you don't get the Hitler you wanted. You get the Hitler you deserve. No, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So if you were to pay $50,000 and you were to get another
Mr. Piffles.
Mr. Piffles, even with being punched in the face with small children, if you
For the
set that
first
up,
2 years.
right? Even that,
And you know what children are like to work with? I mean, oh,
horrible,
yeah.
terrible. Even if you were to get that, you were able to do all of that. Just the chemical reaction in the womb of the donor dog would give you a different Mr. Piffles.
I believe this is exactly the struggle Barbara Streisand is having right now.
Yes.
She's very upset.
Now. One of the struggles Barbra Streisand is having. We've got one problem with Hitler, but Barbra Streisand has
Many struggles.
many struggles.
Many struggles of Barbara Streisand.
Because whenever you get upset about Donald Trump being president of your adopted country, you can always rest easy that Barbra Streisand is more upset than you are.
Yeah.
On about everything. Wouldn't you think about everything?
Yeah, she's cloned her dog, and Donald Trump is president of the United States. She's got two issues.
Have you ever met Barbra Streisand?
No.
You know, one of the nicest, greatest people. We did a show for Barbra Streisand. We did a show. I want to tell you this. We did a show, a private party on New Year's Eve. Private party on New Year's Eve, like 2001, long time ago. Okay? And I won't even tell you the guest list there. But we said, we want to pick someone to be on stage for this trick. And they said, use Dustin Hoffman. And we said, we prefer it be someone less famous. And they said, he will be the least famous. And we walked out, and he was. Dustin Hoffman was as close to regular Joe.
Oh, no.
You get that on. Because you're looking at a Barbra Streisand. You know how Teller does the needles?
Yeah.
You know, it's Barbra Streisand. She was, that was the level of the audience that night. It was phenomenal. And
Did they appreciate the Penn and Teller show?
they seemed to very much.
Well, there we go.
And Barbra Streisand was just a joy to be around and just great. This is before she had cloned dogs.
Yeah.
And all the problems that come with that. Do you listen to audiobooks, Biff?
I do not listen to audiobooks.
You don't? Why
No.
not?
Because I like reading on a tiny, tiny screen and damaging my eyes for the long term.
Yeah, because
If only there was an alternative.
there is an alternative.
What's the alternative?
Audiobooks. Audiobooks are great for helping you be a better you, whether you want to feel healthier, feel good,
I feel good.
get motivated, feel motivated,
I feel motivated.
or learn something new.
I want to learn something new.
Yeah, try books for physical you. You're a badass at making money. There's a book you could listen to. Healthy you, The Sleep Revolution, The Power of Habit. I've read that. The Obesity Code. You could even get my book if you want to do that. Presto is available. 4-Hour Work Week, Inspired You, Braving the Wildernesses, Daily Self-Discipline. Audible helps you listen to more books by letting you switch seamlessly between devices, picking up exactly where you left off, whether it's on your phone, through your car, from a tablet, or at home on Amazon Books, on Amazon Echo. You get tons of books. It's just fabulous. I tried to get through Don Quixote.
Don Quixote.
Yeah. Which have you ever read that book?
Yeah.
Like in high school, right?
Yeah. No, I read it in when I was at university. I adapted it for stage.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Who'd you play?
John Quixote. And the piece was about how I hadn't read the book.
Oh, I see.
But then once I'd finished it, I did then read the book. It just took until after I was supposed to have written the
Well, I know it
adaptation.
is, the first novel, arguably, and the most important novel, less arguably, and really, really, really good. But I tried to read it and had trouble getting through it. And the Audible version recorded is fabulous.
But the main trouble with it is it's like £5.
Yeah.
You have to like lug this thing around with you.
Well, that's nothing. I listened to also Stephen Fry reading all of Sherlock Holmes. All of Sherlock Holmes.
How long did that take him?
I don't know how long it took him to do it.
How long did it take you to do your book?
How long did it take me to do my book?
Which book?
The last one, Presto.
Presto.
17 hours.
17 hours in here. Did you do it in here?
Yep, most of it.
You did it in here. You just sat here reading your own book.
Yeah.
At that point, did you realize, oh, I should have edited that?
Yes, often.
All the time. Well,
And there's also
self-torture.
I also promised if you want to listen to Kindly Inquisitors, which is also on Audible, which is a great book. Kindly Inquisitors is a new version coming out. Fabulous book, one of my favorite books. I said to Jonathan, who wrote it, I said, I'll read your book. I'll read your book on Audible. Wouldn't that be great if I read your book? He was thrilled to pieces. I read it to him, read it for free. What I didn't know when I was reading it was that there were parentheses within quotations within italics.
Oh, no.
And every one of those needs a different kind of phrasing. And also many, many words that I could not say. Is that right?
Many words that neither one of us could say.
Right. Many words that I think nobody can say.
Like butter.
Like butter, yeah. All you got to do is go to audible.com/PSS. That's Penn Sunday School. Or you can text PSS to 500-500 to get started. You just text it.
I'm
Text
gonna text
PSS.
it now. What
Yeah, you
happens?
should. You should. It's audible.com/PSS or text
500 dash
500.
500.
Yes, I
I
don't
put
know.
a dash in there.
I don't know how you do that. How do you do
How do you
500,
do that?
500? Maybe just try 500.
I'll just try 500, 500.
Mhm.
Okay.
Audible
I
is
thought we were
offering.
doing 45, 45, 45, 45.
No, we're not. We're not. Audible is offering our listeners a free audio.
Oh, let audiobooks help you be a better you this year. Try Audible free.
Yeah, there
Tap
you
to
go.
load preview.
With a 30-day trial membership. Just go to audible.com/PSS and browse the unmatched selection of Audible programs. Download a title free and start listening. It's that easy. Go to audible.com/PSS or text PSS to 500 to get started today. Audible content includes an unmatched selection of audiobooks, that's sure, original audio shows, news, comedy, and more from the leading audiobook publisher, broadcasters, entertainers, magazine and newspaper publishers, and business information providers. I suggest you go Presto.
I just listened to LOD last week.
Did you?
Yeah.
His book?
Yeah.
And how great was it?
It's awesome.
Does he read it?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I did. I got it. I picked it up. Yeah, I did. I got the audio version and the text version, went back and forth. But it was too disconcerting because it was my friend talking to me. So it was a little bit like, why am I listening? Why can't I talk back to him?
Why does this conversation sound so concentrated and dense?
Exactly.
I have listened to an audiobook. I just remembered. I listened to The Disaster Artist. You know that book that was made about the movie The Room?
Yeah.
And then I just watched the movie on the plane the other day.
And what did you like the audiobook?
I like the audiobook.
And now
I
you're
love the
signed up
movie.
for audible.com.
Yeah.
When you're on the road as much as you are,
Yeah.
there's situations where you get sick of music and talking to other people.
Yes, but I don't like to learn. I like to just wallow in my
Well, for that,
indifference.
I'm listening to the new Al Franken book this week.
Oh, really?
I bought a Kindle.
You can share the book from your
what's the-
library with anyone. And if it's their first time accepting the book through the feature, they can listen free. You can send someone a book, they can listen free. You can share audio clips from the book with other people. Once you can have chapter navigation, speed control, whisper sync for voice, switch back and forth between reading and listening to the audiobook across many devices, including Amazon's Kindle and Echo, without ever losing your place or missing
Is
a
there
word.
an app for it? You get an app with it?
Yeah. The Kindle app will play both.
Oh.
It's fabulous. It's really good. I really, really like this. Go to audible.com/PSS. That's all you got to do.
Or you can text 500 PSS.
Yeah. And it just worked.
Yeah, it just worked. Yeah, I
Yeah.
did it.
Yeah.
Even a genuine mythical creature can sign up for Audible.
And we're going to talk Wednesday
Yeah.
about us becoming Cirque performers.
You and I, we're in.
Yeah.
We're in Cirque du Soleil.
Here we are.
Who would have thought that would have ever happened?
But we
Find
are.
out how.
We are. And we're going to talk all about that presently. That is to say Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Wednesday we'll be talking about that. That was Penn Sunday School.
That was Penn Sunday School.
Cha-cha-cha.
And to our listening ears,
You become naked.
all nature sang and round us rang the music of the sea.
Brothers and sisters.
no,
you're the, oh, what?
no.
Oh, I missed it.
You do that next time.
Oh, okay.
I
got excited.
I do the going out part.
Oh, you did a going out
This
part.
talking about Mr. Piffles. And if you're in show business, you can shit in someone's hand. Sinatra could have done that.
Oh, he could have done that, no problem.
Streisand could do that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We will never be able to do
We'll
that.
never be able to do that.
Mr. Piffles, he's at that level already.
Mr. Pibbles and Teller.
And you know I love you. You know I love you.
I messed up a joke because I forgot we were an audio version.
What's that?
Can you ask me how far am I willing to go again?
How far are you willing to go?
I don't know. Let's see. Here I go. Bye-bye.
He's gone pretty far.
He really has. Pretty good, Reddy. Let's.
need to pee?
Nope. Let's start the next one.
I'd like to check the Kwong connection before we start.
That's the next.
Yeah, but I told him I
Okay.
couldn't check yesterday because I was at work.
Okay. Check now, and we'll do it. But let's get going.
I tried earlier before you got here, but he was offline. He's still offline. So we'll just go.
What a break.
This is Penn Sunday School.
You ready? You gonna do it right this time?
Oh, yeah, I'm ready. I'm going to crush it. Wait, I got to type in my password.
All
Okay, I'm
nature
okay.
sings and
your password?
Piff. Brothers and sisters, welcome to Penn Sunday School. But it's Wednesday. It's also Piff the Manic Dragon standing in for people like Michael Godot and Matt Donnelly, who's not here. Now, live from the Show Creator Studios in Las Vegas, here's your host, preaching love. It's Penn Gillette. Oh, God damn it. Really? Oh, this is ridiculous. This is a lot harder than anyone makes it look.
Yeah, well, Godot makes it look pretty hard.
Yeah, he does. And even then, it's harder.
It's Penn Gillette preaching love. Now, let me ask you something.
Did he say Show Creator Studios?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Oh, my. I can't believe.
It's all he did right. It's the
So
only thing he
this
did
is
right.
one moment that I hit. That was the only thing. That was the only ray of sunshine in that otherwise dreadful interruption.
I came to Las Vegas to start doing gigs. I did not live here in about 1992. And Cirque was already here. They were doing Mystere over at Treasure Island, which is called TI. You know, some of my friends make fun of me who don't live in Vegas for saying like LVB and TI and DI. Take DI down to LVB, take a left, and you can go to TI, you know. But Treasure Island, Mystere was there. And
I almost killed myself instantly when I arrived in Las Vegas at Treasure Island.
did you?
Yeah, I hired a car from Treasure Island from that. Because I rented cars for the first 3 months when I was here.
You're a bad driver.
Yeah, best of times. But this was not the best of times. This was the worst of times. So I came out of the parking lot. And the thing about America, but also Vegas specifically, is how incredibly large the roads are. Now, it's like a 2-part highway for us. Just a regular road. It's like a 2-part highway for us. So I went into the right-hand lane of the oncoming traffic, thinking I was in a very good position. I had to immediately drive over the intersection in order to not kill me or
That
the
was
rental car.
right after you rented the car.
Yeah.
How long from renting the car to disaster?
Like the drive down the ramp. It was a drive down the ramp. I turned right into oncoming traffic and immediately have to leap over the intersection.
And did you damage the car?
Nope. But I had the insurance waiver anyway because I'm a huge pussy when it comes to renting cars. I always get that magical insurance thing. I always want to just be able to bring back a steering wheel. That's like, anytime I'm like, if I can just bring you back one of the wing mirrors, I'm happy, I'm okay to drive it. Otherwise, I'm just a nervous wreck. I just think, oh God, I'm going to bankrupt myself over this car.
One winter, I was in New York City, and I had a girlfriend that I was very fond of. And we decided, even though we were not married, to go to a honeymoon suite in like one of those places you go, like in New Jersey or Pennsylvania or something, for the weekend. And we rented a car. It was winter. And we had a romantic weekend. Of course, it wasn't a weekend because I was on Broadway then, so it was like a Monday, Tuesday, right? We rented the car. And then we came out from our night to drive back to New York, or a couple nights to drive back to New York. And the windshield was covered with ice on the rental car, okay? And she was sitting in the passenger seat, and I was to clean off the windshield and then drive. Now, I'm from New England, new and improved England. I'm from Massachusetts, and I am used to having snow and ice. And when I worked at the hospital as a dietary aide, which was dishwasher, I had to get up in the middle of a New England winter at 5 a.m. and go out to the car, my parents' car, and scrape to be able to get a little tiny peak hole to be able to drive unsafely, crawling to work at the hospital for my, 5:30 in the morning shift. I hated the snow and ice. One thing that propelled me into show business was maybe getting someplace I wouldn't have to scrape my windshield. So I came out having had a wonderful weekend with this woman, and there was the ice on the windshield. I saw the scraper. They had a scraper in the rent-a-cars. I just couldn't bear to use a scraper. So I thought about, I'll get in the car and I'll start it up and I'll turn the heat on full, and then we can wait a half an hour and it'll melt everything. I didn't want to do that. We had to get going. So I had a glove on. I had my black leather jacket, my motorcycle jacket, bought at Freehold, New Jersey, where Springsteen bought his, incidentally, and the Ramones bought theirs. And my actual, real, no-kidding leather jacket. and I had a glove, a black leather glove. So I thought, well, you know, if I punch the windshield, okay, the vibrations on the glass will loosen the ice.
How many ideas did you go through before you got to this one? Was this, well, I could scrape it, I could wait for it to thaw, or I could punch it? Was that the third on the list?
Third, yeah, third. And I took my fist with the glove and I hit the windshield to try to get the vibrations to clear it. And my date for that weekend rolled down the window and said, you're going to break the windshield. I said, listen, this is auto glass for crashes. I'm not strong enough to break the windshield. It will hold up under my fist. It will just magically vibrate the ice off. It'll all fall into place, and it'll all be beautiful. We'll drive back to New York. And I punched it again. And she said, you're going to break the windshield. I said, no, I'm not. And then I took my fist and I punched really hard, and the whole windshield cracked. And she said, what do you think she said?
She said, oh, you just broke the windshield.
No. She said, that was so sexy.
Okay, right, this is Penn in a story. What we have here, if you distill all of Penn into one story, this is the story. Do you remember when you came to my press night? I guess it was over a year ago now, and it was before the recent presidential elections.
Okay.
And you said to me, how's everything going? I said, you know, I'm a little bit concerned. And you said, why is that? And I said, well, I'm just a bit concerned that Donald Trump will be president because in London...
There's no way that can happen.
Well, in London, we just had Brexit. That just happened. And we'd also had Boris Johnson become mayor. And Boris Johnson had some trouble with his political career when he was taped asking somebody to beat somebody else up. And so he had to step down. And then he did a lot of comedy shows where he was like the host of the comedy shows, and he was like doing all hilarious self-deprecating jokes about how he would be recorded, you know, being taped, asking someone to beat somebody up, and everyone was making hilarious jokes, and he came across as slightly charming, and then he decided to run for mayor, and everyone was like, well, of course he's not going to be mayor because he's this, he's a disgraced politician. And but everyone was like, oh, but he's so funny, and you know, you can sort of like ruffle his hair, and he's pretty funny. So he became mayor, and then Brexit happened, and I said, well, I just, you know, I come from London, and in London we had Boris Johnson as mayor. We just exited the European Union, which doesn't look like it's the best idea, and it's since panned out not to be the best idea. And I just think everyone's sitting back a bit and thinking that this Trump thing will never happen, and maybe it will happen. And you said to me, don't worry about it. We've done the maths. They've done all the work. The science is out there. It's, you know, there is no God. Donald Trump will not be president. Yeah. And what happened?
I was sure. I'm positive.
Sure. You'd done the work.
I'll tell you how sure I was. I left for work that night, and he had just won Florida, which meant he was going to win the election.
Yeah.
And other people were at the house saying, well, he's just won Florida. It's turned. I said, no. Not a chance. And I went and did the show, and it wasn't until after the show, when the election was done, someone came up to me, and I didn't know this at the time, but the woman of the couple was holding a video, was holding her phone in video mode, while the man of the couple had his phone in his hand, and he said, do you think Donald Trump has a chance of winning? I said, no. He said, have you seen the election results? I said, no, but there's no way. And he held it up in front of me. He held up the map of the United States with the electoral votes. He held it up in my face, and I said, oh, fuck. and he said to his date, his companion, he said, well, we've got the actual reaction on video now. I said, did you dummy that up? Is there? And I will tell you, it's now been over a year, and I'm not sure I believe it.
You're still unconvinced. But here's what makes it a Penn and Teller story.
Mhm.
Or not even a Penn and Teller story, a Penn Jillette story. Has your life in any way been affected negatively by Donald Trump winning the election? Your particular life. Not those around you. Your particular life.
I think it's possible that my wife is less happy because Donald Trump is
I'm
president.
not going to give you that.
Okay.
It's not your particular life.
Okay, in that case, no.
No. You've got quite a lot of publicity, haven't you, from
Yes.
Donald Trump being elected? That's
I have.
true.
I
Yeah.
have.
You're also probably in a better tax situation, I would imagine.
Slightly, yeah.
Slightly better tax situation.
Slightly, maybe a lot.
You
Yeah.
see? And this is what we come down to. Even when you were punching that windscreen and anyone else's life would have been ruined by that moment, this girl turns around to you and goes, God, that's sexy.
Exactly.
And you ride off into the distance, leaving a little magic dragon. What has to happen?
It gets better. Okay.
How does it get better?
So we bring the car back, okay? And I drive in, and I go to the desk, and I say, I broke that windshield. How much would that cost? He said, well, you're covered for all that. I said, no, I'm not covered for this. He said, we'll just say that a stone popped up from a cement truck and hit you and broke the windshield, be fine. I said, no, that's not what happened. I punched the windshield with my fist. And the woman I was with said it was so sexy. She said, you should do it. He said, well, I'm just going to cover it under the insurance. You'll pay nothing. I said, no. There's no way that there is any insurance in the world that covers me punching the windshield with my fist. And she told me I was going to break it. I said there was nobody that could see this as anything other than my fault. I would like to pay for the windshield. He said, well, we don't really have the paperwork for someone coming in and confessing it's their fault. I said, but my insurance rates will go up for everybody because I did this horrible thing. He said, well, whatever it was not your fault. And I said, yes, it was. And then my date, who if I told you her name at the time, this would make more sense, but I'm not going to because it would violate a confidence. She said, what if there was a cat who was despondent and that cat jumped out the window of a fast-moving car, flew back and hit the windshield? Would you blame the act of God, or would you blame the cat? He said, what's that going to do with anything? I said, nothing, but it was really funny. And we kind of cuddled happily about that, laughed together. I said, but I broke the windshield. And I said, I'd like to pay for it. How much is it? And he said, it's $300. And he said, but I don't even know how to do the bookkeeping. I said, $300? That seems pretty reasonable. And then she said, may we see the price list, please? Because we may want to break some other things. She said, a rear view mirror is only $75. Let's go kick the rear view mirror off the car. She said, for like $500, we can have a great afternoon. I said, if I give you $500 right now, will that cover the broken windshield, plus like both mirrors, and maybe we can like key it? And there were other people waiting in line here. And I said, listen, you guys bring in your cars. Why don't we go to a cash machine?
This is why my insurance premium is so high.
And so he wouldn't let us. As
He
a matter
wouldn't
of
let
fact,
you?
he sent someone out right away to drive the car away. And he said, let's just don't break anything else. Let's just call it even. And we pulled together our money. And she had some cash with her, and we gave him the $300, which I am now certain he pocketed.
Oh, yeah.
There was no way for him to figure. But he was not unscrupulous in any way. He was breathtakingly direct and honest. It's just that I think there was no checkbox for man comes in and confesses to punching windshield on purpose.
Not confesses, brags. There's no confession in that story. It wasn't like, all right, you got me. All right, it was my third idea. It was the best one I had. The other two I didn't have time for. I just punched the windscreen. It would have been a dead cat, but we didn't have that either.
Yeah, it was I needn't tell you, it was a wonderful, wonderful 2 days.
How do these stories end like this? Here's what's going to happen. At the end of your life, it's all going to go black. You're going to wake up. You'll be in heaven. God's going to say, ta-da. You're going to be like, oh, I guess I was wrong. Well, fair cop, governor. I'm off to be damned for the rest of eternity. God will be like, nope, Penn. I'll be honest. I'm a big fan of the bullet catch. At Merce Sunday School, you're in the gate, and you'll be like, what about the other atheists? Oh, no, they're all fucked. Every single one of them, they're all burning for eternity. But you, son, come on in.
Yeah. Things do sometimes go well for me.
Not sometimes. No, I cannot think of a story when your blind faith in an idea that has turned out to be wrong has let anyone else down other than you. It's just
You
always
said that backwards.
your blind. How do I say it?
I want to say your blind faith that what you're going to do is going to turn
You
out
see,
all right.
or even this story, even this story.
What you want to say is,
Oh,
you
my
want to
God.
say, turns out bad for everyone except you. You're the one who's wrong and everyone else is punished. That's what you want to say.
That is what I want to say. Reddy, can you just re-edit it? So just put the English on his
Sure.
voice so that it sounds like I'm talking sense.
Let's hear butter one more time.
Butter.
No, the way he says it.
Butter. So we're
That's all
now
that sentence is going to be.
we're now Cirque du Soleil performers. You and I.
You know, I came to Vegas in whatever it was, 1992, and I went to see Mystere. And my background was circus. I'm circus folk. I went to Ringling Brothers Barnum Bailey Greatest Show on Earth, Clown College. And I had strong opinions on circus. And I went to Cirque and did not enjoy it. My date for that show,
This is your first ever Cirque show.
Yeah.
You did not enjoy.
Teller had seen it in Southern California when they were still in a tent, and Teller did not particularly enjoy it. And I went to see it with Debbie Harry and Mike Motion, the juggler, who was my partner. He was in that show. And the snail and all the kind of mannered big production stuff, I didn't care for it all. I really disliked it. And then Cirque, over the next 30 years, whatever they've been around, 25 years, whatever, became the behemoth that it is. I mean, they employ over 5,000 people, right? And I've always had this feeling that there was a deep philosophical difference in what art should be between what I felt and what Cirque felt. Okay? Cirque had a collectivist attitude. And I went to see Love, and I've enjoyed some Beatle music in the past. I've been a big Beatle fan. I'm one of the people that has 2 Beatle Butcher covers, which is hardcore Beatle collecting, I know a thing or two. I've met Ringo. I've broken bread with George Martin, the Beatles producer. I've talked a little bit about Beatles. I have actually sang into a microphone that John Lennon used in the echo chamber in Abbey Road Studios in England. I have walked across Abbey Road and had my picture taken by George Martin. I'm a bit of a Beatles fan. So I went to see Love, and the attitude of love, the idea of love that I saw philosophically, okay, was that the Beatles as individuals didn't matter, that the Beatles were an idea, a zeitgeist. They were something other than individual artists creating something. Now, when I go to see a piece of art, I go to see, get a glimpse into another human being's heart. That's what I want. That's what I want from art. And Cirque always seemed to have like a really beautiful, glitzy tractor pull. All this wonderful equipment moving and all these beautiful bodies with stuff glued to their faces. And I always felt that there was a sterility and a just size and I mean, I guess sound and fury that didn't signify what I wanted it to signify, you know. And I would sit in the shows of Cirque and say, how much would I rather see a person with an acoustic guitar doing these songs? Not even one of the Beatles, just someone who was good, you know. How much would I prefer? Let's pick someone. How much would I prefer John Cougar Mellencamp to be singing these songs in the middle of the stage alone? So a performer that I don't really care much for. And after seeing a few Cirque shows, I kept going, why doesn't someone come to Vegas and really do, which Garth Brooks finally did, a show with one person, a guitar on stage, you know? What would you rather see? All of Love with rollerblading and all this stuff going on, tap dancing to Lady Madonna, all this stuff? Or would you rather see Bruce Springsteen with acoustic guitar? You notice I'm not even pulling out the Dylan card, okay? I'm just saying another person showing part of their soul. And when we go to see Penn and Teller, I believe you have two people in which you have no compromise whatsoever, right? You don't have, there isn't a Penn and Teller sensibility. You have a real strong sense of Penn and a real strong sense of Teller. So I have been in opposition to Cirque, thinking about our show being, now Cirque is brilliant financially because you don't need English to enjoy Cirque. You need English to enjoy Piff the Magic Dragon.
You do.
Yeah. You need English to enjoy Penn and Teller, or to enjoy Penn of Penn and Teller. Teller's a smart one, as he always is. And Cirque, you don't need any English. You can just go and watch it in spectacle. And I have always been wary of their sensibility and skeptical of it. And we also saw, you know, when they tried to do a show with a star, Chris Angel.
Because normally you don't need Penn or Teller to do, if you were going to do this, you know, to do the Cirque show, because they don't have any headliners in there.
Right.
Yeah.
And Blue Man Group, you know, even Blue Man Group, I would see a sensibility coming over it, but this was just putting stuff up. And over the years, I knew a zillion Cirque performers and loved them all, you know, and they all said nothing but kind things about Cirque. So I would, although I think the fact that Cirque was outside my sensibility was clear, that the sensibility was very, very different, the artistic sensibility. I never did a long rant about how horrible Cirque du Soleil was. I didn't believe they were horrible, just believe they're outside of my taste. So, cut to, they then approached me, because my wife is very involved in One Drop, and they said, would you do a scene in our Cirque One Drop show? Now, One Drop is unquestionably a fabulous cause. You know, water is one of the major issues of the 21st century. Just like Trump won't be elected, I say that with certainty. And then they said, you know, do you want to do Cirque? And I was like, what is it going to feel like from the inside? And I had my first phone call with Nikki. Was it Dunhurst, right? Dewhurst.
You know, him and I went to school together.
Did you?
The same school. We're like 2 years apart.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We, same school, same, like, he grew up on the road that the school was on. Yeah, it's crazy.
So I had my first meeting by Skype with Nikki and his wife. And
Letitia.
Nikki and Letitia spoke to me on Skype. And I was a little bit playful, let's say, in my, what are you going to do, dress me as an animal? And they said, well, yes. And I tried a little bit to say, they kind of led with, you know, your buddy Piff is going to be in the show.
And you said, my son.
My son.
My son.
Well,
Piff.
I did try that very hard. I tried very hard to say, wouldn't you prefer to have Pop? And they said, no, Jules' father is Piff's father.
It was, no, well, not Jules' father. Jules, the actor playing Jules' father, who is, I wasn't actually technically Jules' father. It was imagined by, it was very confusing.
Right. And then I began, there's this thing, Howard Stern talks about how, I remember one of the things Howard said to me. I interviewed him in the 80s. And Howard said that he couldn't meet anybody. Because when he met anybody, he would immediately take their side. And he couldn't make jokes about them anymore. They became friends of his. So he wanted to be mean to somebody, he just could not meet them. And then I realized Richard Pryor, lit his head on fire, right? He had that horrible cocaine accident, lit his head on fire. And he did one special after that where he said, what's this? And he lit a match, so the end of it burned, and then he went like this, Richard Pryor, right? And then there was a pause. I don't remember this exactly. And he went, what, you don't think I know this?
Right.
And when I met Salman Rushdie, I said to him, what was your favorite joke in the 80s? And he said, he understood what I was asking. And he said, who lives in Tasmania, blonde hair and big tits? Salman Rushdie, right? That was the joke. And I suddenly had this realization that everybody knows everything. Like if somebody saw your show and didn't like it and then said, it's just this dickhead in a dragon suit.
Yeah.
And they said that to you, there's no chance they can say something against your show that you haven't thought.
No, I mean that would be one of the lines in the show, but unfortunately on that occasion, yeah. But no, I know exactly anything you're thinking. Somebody else is thinking.
If someone said to me, for instance, the Penn and Teller show are some good tricks by Teller, and then this windbag who goes on and on with pontificating pretentious bullshit, I would say, yeah. That's our brochure.
That's fundamentally correct.
Yeah, fundamentally correct. And yet, you fall into this trap, this horrible ego trap, where you think that you're the only one who's noticed.
Maybe they don't know.
Yeah, maybe they don't know. So Cirque knows that there's not a single personality that you're seeing. They know that when there's one thing you want to focus on, they put stuff peripherally to distract you. They know that their narrative is sometimes oblique. They know all of that. There's no surprises. And I was talking to Nikki, and I tried to get little digs in, like I'm going to say this, and Nikki's going to go, oh, I guess we are kind of like that. But no, he jumps right in with the same jokes. Yeah. He knows everything I know, And it's like if I had asked Nikki to be on our show, and he said to me, is there going to be like an interminable monologue with then one 30-second trick at the end? It wouldn't be like, somebody could
see through me.
Someone could see me that way? How could that possibly be? It would just be like, no, it'll probably be 45 minutes and then 15 seconds at the end, right? And let's do that, right? There would be no pain, no suffering, no nothing, no tearing down of the veil, no blows against the empire, no telling truth to power. Power knows the truth, And so I started working with Nikki, and I really, really liked him. Really liked him. And then he started explaining what they were trying to do, and all of a sudden I realized that you got to come to the art where it is. You can't say, this is what Cirque should be, and I'll go and judge them against that. You've got to be there, like the Rolling Stones. Frank Zappa was always so easy for me to understand. Frank Zappa did music the way I wanted music to be done. But the Rolling Stones, man, I never understood them. I never understood how the lyrics were sloppy and the band was loose, But then all of a sudden you realize, oh, that's what the Stones are trying to do. They're trying to sound like the Stones. They have a different mission statement than I have for them. And so there I was, in a scene with a beaver tail on, juggling with this subterranean Alaska jewel story flowing over me, and everybody was really nice and sweet and pleasant, and the punchline is, I think the show was really good.
Then we had a good time.
Yeah, great time. And I'll also tell you that I think I'm wrong. I think this is just saying I'm completely wrong with everything I said about Cirque. No. That's not what I mean. What I mean is I'm completely right about everything about Cirque, but they're not trying to do the Penn and Teller show. They're trying to do the Cirque show. And if they said, we don't want an interminable monologue that ends in a 30-second trick, I would say, well, you shouldn't come to see Penn and Teller then. That's what we do. You understand what I'm talking to you, Biff?
Just going to read my Yelp reviews. Too much talking. Tricks are mostly card tricks and guessing. Piff needs a better variety of tricks. Dragon doing card tricks is exactly what the show is. There's one here. Oh, where is it? Oh, I can't find it. There is one here that says, this dragon seems very grumpy. The dog appears to not do much at all. If anything, Piff was unshaven and looks like he wanted to be anyone else. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of the joke, 1 star. But you just got to respect that, really, haven't you?
Well, yeah, but that's the position you're in. You've got to buy in.
If at any point you're going to Cirque shows and you're thinking, oh, why is all this stuff happening all over the place? And why is the storyline a little bit abstract? And why are they all dressed up in all this hair? That's Cirque du Soleil. That is the thing. And you and I got to come in to Cirque du Soleil and be us. Or I was saying, wow, it's almost like you brought me in to be the polar opposite of everything you're about. And they're like, yeah, that's exactly what we did. That is the reason we brought you in. And there were these moments when there was one moment in particular where I had to, I came out I was hatched out of an egg. A dragon hatched out of an egg. All the others were birds. I came out and I was like, good evening, my name's Piff the Magic Dragon. My mother's a pigeon. Welcome to Cirque du Soleil. And then I go over and my mother gets all upset and she leaves our family. She's gone now. She's left us. The dad is very upset about this. The dad comes up to me and in rehearsals they were like, and then the dad is going to hit you. And it's like, well, at this point, I think you do have an issue with bringing Piff the Magic Dragon into your performance because I think that's going to be hilarious. I think Piff the Magic Dragon being punched by his dad is pretty much hilarious. But other than that, that was the only one time. Other than that, it worked great. I had a great time.
And they also were egging me on.
Oh, yeah.
Nikki said, say whatever you want.
Yeah.
And I feel like I let them down. I feel like they wanted me to be more... And then I got to tell this punchline because this punchline really, really shows how much I didn't understand anything. It's kind of like I saw Picasso, looked at the painting and said, well, can he draw? You know what I mean? It's completely missing the point. So I'm backstage with Nikki. And I just wrote to him an email and said, let's get together and talk about this more because I loved it. Because he's been with Cirque really since the beginning.
Well, his dad also is been with Cirque.
He was in the scene with me. He was in the scene with me. So I'm talking to Nikki, and I'm talking about this very idea. I said, once you've decided to rollerblade during Revolution in a show about the Beatles, you've made a statement about where that is in terms of the literal meaning, And this was not like, whoa, what do you mean? It was like, yeah. And I said to him, to try to make my point of what the polar opposite was, I said to him, but I want you to know, I'm starting to understand the Cirque a little more, but if you ever do a Bob Dylan show, I'll kill you. And there was a pause. And he said, Bob was supposed to be in the scene with you. I said, what? He said, well, Bob likes Cirque, and we were trying to work out the schedule because he's friends with Jewel. And he was going to be sitting in the bar, and you were going to be talking to him while you were juggling.
Oh, there's a gentleman.
Talk about Cirque du Soleil wins 1 million points, Penn Jillette 0. 0 points. A deep, deep and utter misunderstanding. So now I kind of want to go to see O and see Zumanity and see the other Cirque shows, maybe even Love Again, trying to see it through the new Penn Jillette eyes.
I saw O. Had one of my favorite moments I've ever seen on stage.
A guy lighting himself on fire?
No.
Oh, what was that?
They had this sort of boat trapeze thing hanging in the air.
Uh-huh.
And within the first 15 seconds, a guy flips off the trapeze, misses his catch, lands in the water, swims out of the water, just brings himself up onto the stage, lies face down on the floor for the remainder of the whole act. Just lies face down on the floor, just like spread-eagled, face down on the floor for the rest of the entire 5-minute bit. Then, when the bit is finished and they all fall off the boat, he then gets back in the water, swims to the front of the stage, stands up with the rest of them, and takes a bow as if nothing had happened. I was like, oh, it's so good.
No chance that was planned.
No chance.
No chance.
No, he just fell off that night. And when you fall off, apparently, in a circus show, because there's all this crazy shit happening all over the place, your best chance of survival is to just face down onto the floor and wait until you take your bow.
Because you can't get back up there.
You never know when you're getting hit by some other monster. And I guess if you're face up, you see death. You know, so better that you just face down while the thing is dropping on top of your head and you never were aware of it.
Yeah.
So you just get back in the ocean and swim off. I thought I embraced Cirque du Soleil wholeheartedly. There was a moment when I was suspended 60 foot from the air, throwing glitter into the audience and shouting Cirque du Soleil at the top of my voice. So I feel like I had the quintessential Cirque du Soleil experience.
I will now do anything Cirque du Soleil asks me to do.
Anything.
There'd be no hesitation whatsoever.
Absolutely.
As a matter of fact, what would be a nightmare to me 2 months ago, like if they said Cirque du Soleil wants to do a Penn and Teller show, Penn and Teller and Cirque are going to put together a show, I would have said, no way, sensibilities are the absolute opposite. Now I would say, let's find out what that goes.
Let's see how that goes.
Let's see how that goes. Let's see what we can find out.
They'll go, well, it didn't work out with Chris, but maybe Penn and Teller.
Yeah. And I'm really looking forward to talking to Nikki, because I had previously thought they didn't know what they were trying to do, and I understood art. I now see they know more than I do.
They knew all the time. They knew all the time. I made a lot of friends there. Very rare for me to make friends. I made a lot of friends at that show. Mr. Piffles did not savage Jules' 6-year-old son.
Oh, that's good.
Which was a bonus. There was a couple of moments when I thought that was going to happen, but that was did not.
And Jewel is wonderful.
She's very nice.
She's fabulous.
She did that thing. Now I sit in rehearsals, and you see me do this. You know, I never assume that people want to come and say hi to me, so I just sort of sit there typing away on my laptop, and she came into the room. She said hello to everyone, and then she left. She said, "Hi, Piff, how you doing?" And I said, "I'm very good, thank you, Jewel. I'm also glad your 6-year-old son does not have savage Mr. Piffles claw marks all over his face." So I thought she was very nice.
Well, I saved Jules' life.
You saved Jules' life.
Yeah. She was walking backwards with a guitar and was about to hit a gym mat. She did not learn the lesson of laying face down during a Cirque show.
She did not learn that lesson.
So I held her arm, and at first she thought it was being too familiar with her. And she looked at me like, oh, that's interesting that you would touch me, you know. She was not upset about it, but it was inappropriate. I mean, like, why would you grab someone's arm in the middle of a curtain call? And then I said, stop. And she looked around and saw the mat and said, oh, thank you.
Oh. So you saved Jules' life.
She would have fallen down with the guitar. The guitar head stock would have hit her in the face, and a fluke facial vibration would have given her an aneurysm, and she would have died.
She would have done. It would have been a fact. I would like to do a Cirque du Soleil show again, but I don't feel I should, because I avoided death narrowly on many occasions during this thing. There was this thing at the end when I was standing in the middle, and these rollerbladers were zipping around me, just zoom, 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 you know, coming down, and I am not a sprightly figure on the stage, and I had to get from A to B very quickly, and at no point did I ever achieve that goal, and the rollerbladers were very upset with me.
I was standing next to the acrobats, clapping in the back, and the only time I actually showed any sort of discomfort with what was happening in the Cirque show was I said to the acrobats who were from somewhere not Kansas, I said to them, no, not 1 and 3. Clap on 2 and 4. Hear the other people? 2 and 4. Our section can't be on 1 and 3. Let's fix this. That was my direction. Jules started doing it, and they were not on the back beat. They were on the front beat. And I said, this has to be remedied right now.
See, at that point, I would have just been taken out by a rollerblader.
Rollerbladers were moving very quickly.
Oh, it was brutal. Thum, thum.
And I also want to tell
And
you,
here's what would have happened as well. I'd have been taken out by a rollerblader. I was holding Mr. Pibbles at the same time. Mr. Pibbles would have gone 6 feet in the air. The rollerblader would have reversed around, caught the dog. Everything would have been fine. I would be a footnote in show business.
and people would have been saying, oh, glad Mr. Piffles was okay.
That new Piff is way better. He's so much happier. He really looks like he wants to be here. And he's shaved.
You know, Matthew Holtzclaw, who's a magician in New York. You know him, right?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I know of him. I don't know him.
Great close-up magician. He said to me, this is another different kind of classic Penn Jillette story. Not the classic of Penn Jillette is lucky. This is the classic of Penn Jillette is oblivious. Okay? He writes to me and says, there's this juggler you have to see. He's the best juggler working now. You will love him. He's fabulous. Check him out. Sean Blow. And I wrote back, when I'm in New York, I'll have to check him out. That'll be really good. And then the next day, I got an email from Matthew that said, I'm looking at a picture of you with Sean Blow. I went, oh, Sean. He said, yes, you're standing on stage and juggling with the juggler I told you was the greatest juggler and that you should see work, and you are juggling with him. Things are going from your hands into his hands and back to you. You are juggling with this juggler. So I went in that day and went, Matthew Holtzclaw says you're the best. You're Sean Blue. Now, I have just told the man who he is and expect him to be surprised. Like, yes, I am.
He's like, am I?
He said, yes, I am Sean Blue. I said, well, Matthew Holtzclaw says you're the best. And Sean Blue went, oh, there's a lot of really good jugglers.
That's how you know he's the best.
So you know he's
That's
the
how
best.
you know he's the
When
best.
he says there's a lot of really good jugglers,
yeah.
you go, oh, man.
He's that good.
Oh, man, he's that good
he's that
he
good.
has absolutely nothing to prove.
Oh.
And also, we know the difference between jugglers and magicians. We know that magicians, when they get together, are horrible to one another. And jugglers are just all friendly, pleasant, sweet guys.
It's disgusting.
It is disgusting.
It's disgusting to be a part of. Ugh.
And
But the other thing is that you and I are the same because when you were starting out, then you were the kick-ass juggler in town, right? Yeah, you could do everything.
I did everything.
You could do everything.
Yeah.
You were the ones leading. You were the one leading the way.
Oh, sure. Oh, we
So-
were really good.
And when I started doing card tricks, then I was really good at card. I was like, I knew all the latest sleights. I could do all the moves no one could do. And these days, just no.
Not
Just-
even on the board.
It's brutal.
Not even on the board.
Don't even register.
To put it in actual terms, when I was 15, my mom and dad drove me to the International Jugglers Association convention. They drove me quite a ways. They drove me like 2 hours to get to this convention. It was a very big deal for me. And at the convention, there were 2 people in the world that they knew of that could do 5 clubs, right? One of them was at the convention, and I sat in awe as he took 3 or 4 tries to get 5 clubs and hold them. Now, one of the guys in the juggling group that I was in, which there's 4 of us, one of the guys is not a juggler. He's not a juggler, okay? He does juggling on the side casually. He holds 5 clubs like nothing.
Yeah.
And they do like 8 rings, not even flinching.
Not even worried about it.
Not even
It's
worried.
depressing. There was do you know a slide called the anti-pharaoh? You know what that slide is?
Yes, the first time I saw it, drove me crazy.
Well,
You should describe what it is.
So the anti-pharaoh was for a long time a mythical
Right.
sleight. The idea is that you spring the cards from one hand to the other, and every other card ends up woven out.
Right.
So it ends up at least like probably like an inch, maybe half an inch above the other. So you have a interlaced pattern all the way through. It's the opposite of doing a pharaoh shuffle, which is when you hold a deck, you split the cards in 2, you hold them above, and every other card interlocks. It's the
Right.
opposite of that.
And if you do 51 perfect pharaohs, the cards are back in the same order
Isn't
they
it
started.
Oh, in
But
Pharaohs.
if you do out Pharaohs,
Right.
which means the out cards stay the same, in 8 Pharaoh shuffles that are perfect, the cards stay the same. Now, when I first started working on a Pharaoh shuffle, this is the hardest thing a card magician can do.
Ever.
In the world. And I would watch Mike Close and Eric Mead bang out 8 perfect Pharaohs, boom, 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 boom. They weren't even thinking. There's actually more booms involved there. And they would do their show, and they would start 4 Pharaohs in. So they'd come out and they could just do 4 Pharaohs, and the cards were in the exact order they wanted them in.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the anti-Pharaoh,
The anti-Pharaoh. So I was having dinner when I was about 18 or 19 with this guy called Christian Engblom, who was the guy who created the anti-Pharaoh, and he showed it to me, and I saw it. And he was explaining to me how it worked. He was saying, well, when a card hits it, and the next card hits, it creates a little pocket of air, so it goes further, and then there's a little gap with the next card, so that goes less. So I was like, I don't really understand this, but I can see it, so all right, fine. Years later, I was at a magic convention with Guy Hollingworth, who is one of the greatest card magicians to have ever lived, and another guy called R. Paul Wilson, again, one of the greatest card magicians who ever lived, and they did not believe it was possible.
right?
They did not believe this.
First time I saw it, a guy told me he was going to make every other card out jog in an anti-Pharaoh, and I said, well, that can't be done. Can't be done.
It can't be done.
No.
2 years after that conversation with Guy Hollingworth and Upper Wilson, I was at a magic convention in San Diego, and an 11-year-old was doing it. An 11-year-old. An 11-year-old child. He hasn't been long. It took Christian 7 years to perfect it. This kid would have had to start at 4. He hasn't been alive long enough.
Right.
He just hasn't been alive long enough.
And you used to be to have a perfect bottom deal, you did Time for Murder 1.
That's exactly
That's how Jerry
the
Camaro
only way.
learned the bottom deal.
That's the only way.
Yeah. Now, 12-year-olds are doing it.
12-year-olds.
And the cardistry stuff, they're doing stuff that is impossible.
Yeah, it's physically not possible.
Yeah. And they just do it like nothing.
And they do it, yeah.
And every time they hit it.
Every time. It's perfection. They do it perfectly every time.
They are inventing stuff. The jugglers are inventing stuff that is so hard you couldn't even imagine it. Like,
Right.
why would you want to do that? So I walked into this, and I was actually a pretty good juggler. I am not at a 9-year-old level now. Not even an 8-year-old level.
No.
No.
They have computer programs in juggling to create patterns that you couldn't come up with, and then they replicate them in the physical.
Yeah. They're doing multiplex, which means double throws at once, multiplex throws with clubs.
They have to use computers to make the patterns and then be able to do them because what's happened?
Yeah.
What's happened to us?
Yeah. And it's all because of the internet.
Yeah.
We thought it was just going to be porn and science.
Here's how it happened. I was, Dan and Dave Buck? Do you know the Buck twins?
Oh, sure, of course.
So I love the Buck twins. They're two of my favorite. They don't even call themselves magicians. I remember speaking to them and saying, "Oh, what's your favorite thing about performing live?" And they just laughed and laughed at the idea of performing live.
Yeah.
They can't stand it, and they're incredible. They're geniuses. So I was spending some time
When
with them.
I did a show called Code Black, where I was playing a magician,
Yeah.
they had brought one of the Buck twins in to be my advisor.
Oh
He
yeah.
was to teach me how to
my
do
God.
how to do the magic. on
That
the
must
show.
have been depressing.
They brought him in as the advisor, and he said, when I got the call, I said, yeah, Johnny and I worked out a trick to be able to do. And they said, yeah, we figured. And so then we went into my dressing room, and I said, well, since you're here, teach me some stuff. That won't be for the show, but just you're on the payroll, you're working, I'm working, teach me some stuff. And the stuff he wanted to teach me, rudimentary stuff.
Basic stuff. Well,
Couldn't get near.
I was at their house, and they were filming a new video. This is a long time ago as well. So they were filming this video, and they spent 16 hours working with this. I think it was from East Europe somewhere. 16 hours with this guy trying to get this one flourish. It took this guy 16 hours to be able to do it, and then they film it and they release it as something that's possible every time. They don't show the 16 hours it took. So now you have kids watching it going, oh, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that again. That's a bit weird. This guy nails it every time. So then they think that they should be able to hit it every time, and that's what makes this exponential practice curve.
Once this is the thing that happens in mathematics all the time. That they couldn't understand. Someone would come up with a theorem proof, okay? They come up with a proof, and they would announce they were going to give a paper on the proof in 3 months, right? And then someone else would get the proof before it was announced. And they would try to find leaks everywhere. Like, how did the person get this math? We've kept this secret, and then they'd find out, no, we didn't have to get the maths. I just said math like you. We didn't have to get the math.
Finally, I'm making a difference.
We knew it was possible, so we did it. And I don't think that what they're learning from the internet, this is precisely what you said, they're not learning from the internet how to do these things. They're learning that you can do these things.
Right. If that juggler, when you were a kid, had just come and like nailed 5 clubs instantly,
Right.
you would have gone home and gone, all right, well, I better get good.
Yeah. And also Billy West, one of the great voice guys. He's the Red M&M. Great voice guy, great guitar player. Plays with Brian Wilson and stuff. Fabulous guitar player. He heard the Beatles records and didn't know, I think it was, what song was it? Do you remember the song it was? It was something off Revolver, I think. That's George Harrison overtracked. Okay? It's 2 tracks. Billy didn't know. Billy just said, oh, George Harrison's playing that. I guess I can play that. So when you see him play it, it's amazing. He's playing 2 guitar parts simultaneously. And it sounds like the Beatles record. But they never played it. Once you think something's possible, boy, all hell breaks loose. And then, what, you going to say something?
Just first time you saw a muscle pass, did you think it was a lie when they told you what they did?
Yeah.
No, but the person, like, I didn't think it was a lie, but I thought it was at the peak of what's possible.
Yeah.
And there were 2 or 3 people who could do a muscle pass. Now it's just like, well, you can't even, it's like the base, it's like one of the rudimentary things.
Yeah.
You
You
know.
should tell you what it is.
A muscle pass is when you hold a coin in the palm of your hand and you squeeze it and it shoots up at least 6 inches, otherwise you can't do a muscle pass.
Right.
So the old thing used to be people would drop a coin from hand to hand and then you would muscle pass and it looks like the coin's falling upwards.
Right.
It looks amazing.
Looks amazing.
And now it's nothing.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And so I'm with Sean Blue, Emil Dahl, and this guy named BJ. What's BJ's last name?
I don't know.
Not Jordan, but something like that. Joyner. I think BJ Joyner. And BJ Joyner is just a guy who works at Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah, do you know he does Xavier Mortimer's part now.
Yeah.
At One, that Michael Jackson show.
Yeah. And, Cirque du Soleil, they do not screw around. We want Penn in a scene with some jugglers. Let's get some jugglers. So they don't say, like, put up on the back board who wants to juggle in this scene with Penn. They go to Sean Blue in New York and say, come out for 2 weeks. Work on the juggling with us for this charity thing. Then they go to Stockholm and say, Emil, come in. And these guys come in. They were working for 2 weeks on this routine that they plugged me into. Okay? So when I came in, they had this, what it's the equivalent of you get the greatest band in the world to play, and then the guy comes out and plays an E chord on the guitar, right in the middle. And they've all set it up so the E chord and the guitar looks like it fits right and it's the right thing to do. It was amazing. And also, really, when all things come down, the only thing I like doing in the world is club passing. So I was thrilled. And I also love, because jugglers do not have this snotty attitude toward one another. They always, as Michael Godot says, magicians, what can they say? Oh, I'm really magic? No, you can't claim anything. Jugglers, I can do that, I can't do that. He can do that, he can't do that. You can just see very clearly. It's very, you don't sit around arguing about who's taller. You just know everything. And it's just inspiring and sweet. And Sean and Emil and even BJ, I'm not fit to eat shit off their shoes as a juggler. And they were kind to me, nice, sweet, and it was just such a pleasure. Now, Sean is able to take a ball about the size of a baseball and spin it.
I saw him. Yeah.
Okay. Now, you can spin a basketball on your finger. You can get a volleyball on your finger. The smaller they get, the harder it is to do, right? So he's spinning like, I guess maybe softball size he's spinning on his finger. And then doing all these contortions and so on he's doing. Now that's amazing. But then he takes, and there's no gimmick on this. There's no gimmick. There's no cheat. He's just doing it. He takes a racquetball and spins that on top of this softball size ball spinning his finger. He has 2 balls spinning his finger, and both of them small. And they are doing balancing rings on their forehead. And then he shows me a video of something that didn't work, didn't fit in the routine, where he slides a ring in and out while he's balancing rings in his forehead. They do stuff that if I'd have seen them when I was 18, well, I mean, that's the whole thing. If I'd have seen them when I was 18, I probably would have said, I can do this.
You'd be doing it too.
Yeah.
You would be doing it too. But now, it's too late.
Yeah.
Too late.
It's just stunning how good they are.
Now, as stunning as their juggling was, that still wasn't the highlight of that routine.
What was the highlight routine was?
Your incredible, sweet, sweet moves on that stage.
I was dancing.
Oh, Jade has never seen anything like it. Jade spent all her life working as a dancer, training for years, and her jaw was on the floor. They just can't. Where did that come from?
Well, I'll tell you, I was born to dance.
You.
I lived to dance. And I was out there, and they were working on the choreography. And the women who were dancing back there, the women, not the men, the women, were small. All of them were, I would say, around 5 foot, maybe even a little shorter. And they were dressed as woodland creatures. I don't know if we pointed this out, but at Cirque du Soleil, I was a beaver. And they were doing this heavily, carefully choreographed dance. And I, during rehearsals, kind of watched the dance out of the corner of my eyes. And then when it was time to do the serious rehearsal, I think I said to Nick, or maybe I didn't, I'm going to dance with them. And I went over and just let the spirit move me.
Oh, it moved.
So when you see a gigantic man, a gigantic old man, a gigantic old non-athletic man dancing with 22-year-old top-tier, small, perfect dancers, I thought comedy would ensue. So they were doing their little woodland creature, putting their hands in front of them, hops, and I would do their little hops. They were doing the slapping the feet and the turning around. I would do that too. And I will tell you, I enjoyed it so much.
But you're doing it to yourself as a disservice. This is not old man Penn. This is new and improved. I lost 100 pounds, wrote a book about it, Penn.
Yeah.
This is Rhythm in the Fingers, Penn. It was incredible. You were all over that stage.
Well, I have, for all my faults, I have a good sense of time. When I did Dancing with the Stars, I was appalled that the time did not seem to matter to a lot of the other dancers, you know? And what I loved about the Cirque du Soleil dancers is they, with the exception of the acrobats, 1 and 3, which I'll never forgive, but the dancers, their time was beautiful, just really beautiful.
I think you should go back on Dancing with the Stars.
I love, you know what I asked?
Now you're thin, Penn.
I know. I asked on Dancing with the Stars if I could, I wanted to play bass.
Yeah.
I wanted to say, can I just go over and do the bass part while the other people are playing? I guess that'd be something to do. But I loved every moment of my experience with Cirque du Soleil. And I had
a great time,
I
too.
had quite a Damascus experience. Did you expect to like it as much as you did?
No, not at all.
No.
I expected to grip my teeth and get through it. And I even went to the party.
Did you?
I even went to the after party.
I didn't go that far.
That's never happened in show business. I hate after parties. I went to the after party and had a great time.
Did you enjoyed it?
Yeah.
Did I miss something?
Yeah.
What did I miss? The after
CeeLo.
party.
CeeLo Green.
Oh, really?
He was there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they had a whole load of
Performing.
people dressed up doing all weird stuff. Mundane Randy was there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, our good friend.
Mundane Randy.
He was there. Perry was there as well.
And
his wife, Robin.
they were auctioning off things that were unbelievable
Oh yeah,
to raise money. Like you have sex with George Clooney.
yeah.
That's
$12.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It was amazing the pocket change they generated.
It was they made like $9 million that night.
Oh my god.
You know, to help with really good causes.
Yeah.
So I think that if I go back in time, future Penn goes back in time and says to other Penn about Cirque du Soleil, "Hey Penn, why don't you shut up?
Right.
Maybe you don't understand." Or as Bob Dylan said, "Don't criticize what you can't understand." And I think maybe that's what happened. I think maybe I'm starting to understand a little bit about Cirque du Soleil. And it's mostly because, boy, Nicky's good. Isn't he really good?
Yeah, they're both him and Letitia were very
I didn't
good.
work with Letitia.
I
at all.
worked with both of them, and they just both had the right notes for me at the right time, and they were also, if something didn't work, they would also help me like figure out something that did work for them.
Well, I had the greatest note from Nicky ever. After I went out in one rehearsal and dropped everything, he said, "Hey, you want to run that a few times backstage?"
That's really what it comes down to.
Why don't you practice? Why don't you
Yeah, you wanna do that, but good. That was I used to have a little theatre company, and that was my director's note was always, "You like that, but good." Which I think really is all the director needs to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You usually know what's gone wrong.
Yeah, that, but good.
And I also liked all the people backstage with the shit glued to their faces. They all seemed happy.
The only issue I had was I couldn't recognize anyone. As soon as they put their shit on their face, I was like, I don't know who these people are anymore.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Oh well.
Also, you there's something else that I would have never thought, but of course it's true. Cirque has been around long enough that every person on that stage with us grew up wanting to be in Cirque.
Yeah.
That's all they ever wanted. You know,
They've achieved their dream.
that
right
was their
there.
goal.
That was it.
That was their goal. You
Yeah.
know, they're in dance class. They're in, Cincinnati. They're in dance class, and they've seen Cirque on TV, and they go, all I want to do is be in a Cirque show somewhere in the world.
Yeah.
And, because I'm old, we came up with Cirque. So I don't really see that. And there's a kind of joy you get from that is really special and really wonderful and kind of nice.
It's also nice not having to carry the whole show.
Yeah, well, that's also great.
Oh, it's the greatest thing. I knew that at no point that I could fly in, land on my face, ruin my trick, and the night would be a great success.
Yeah, it's a really great
That was
thing.
so great. I did get stuck on the air at one point in rehearsals. I got stuck about 20 foot in the air for about 15 minutes.
Now, that's a good question. Is there anyone who could? Jewel could have ruined
Jewel
the night.
could have ruined it.
Yeah, she's the only one.
And we could have ruined it by sneezing on Jewel. If we'd have sneezed on Jewel and given her a cold, we would have ruined One Drop. We would have been on the hook for $9 million.
Yeah.
But
we didn't.
But we didn't.
We didn't.
A rollerblader could have maybe taken out Jewel at any one of the rehearsals.
And also,
Mr. Pibbles could have mauled her child's face.
did you watch the rollerbladers go up and down stairs?
No.
Oh, it's pretty great.
I saw them come downstairs at one point and they looked like idiots.
I know, it's great.
I mean, it's just so good.
It's so good. And
It is the great leveler. Stairs. Them and the Daleks.
also, I got to say a thing about you. You understand how madly in love with BJ, Sean, and Emil I am. But Sean Blue was backstage practicing. I believe it was his 8 rings. Could have been 9.
At that point, you lose count.
Right. And he had decided that to get the right light backstage, which he couldn't get, right? It's backstage and it's a stairwell. He was standing up one stair, juggling 8 rings and catching them, putting them over his neck backstage, warming up. Now, 8 rings would be, you have to be in a climate controlled room with cameras all around you and the perfect lighting and plenty of room to move around with gym mats and so on. No, he's on a stair standing backstage. And I just had such a good time. I even think that I may need to get more into the local juggling scene and go out there and pass clubs.
Well,
and
what
stuff.
about, do you remember our magic club?
Yeah,
The Vampire Magic Club.
that fell apart.
Yeah, I could learn to juggle and then we could start our own little juggling scene.
Or we could just join in with the Cirque people. We could just allow ourselves to fall
I think we get in through charm alone.
with charm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think not for long. At some point, they look at us and go, okay, either you're going to pull your weight or you're out, boys.
Yeah.
But we managed the first couple of weeks. Hey, Piff and Penn joined the, Penn and Piff joined the Cirque Juggling Club. Oh, really? How's it going? Oh, yeah, great. They're really charming. Week 2. How's it going? Yeah, they're fine. They're learning. How's it going? Week 3. God, can't wait to get rid of them.
Well, one of the problems with that big of the juggling club is they can't juggle.
They can't juggle.
Yeah. Maybe they should go into the philately class. They could probably collect stamps. That'd be
Yeah,
more.
they seem blown away by 5 clubs. What is this, 1983?
They're a very good audience.
Oh, they
They're
just
impressive.
applaud everything they do. They're the most encouraging of all our members.
But when it comes down to them doing something, nope.
Nope. They prefer to watch.
They can't do a thing. And so, we love Cirque. That's the
We
punchline.
love Cirque.
And that was Penn Sunday School?
That was Penn Sunday School.
Cha-cha-cha.
And to our listening ears,
You become naked.
all nature sang and round us rang the music of the spheres. That was Penn Sunday
One of the problems is, Biff, if we hung out with the Cirque people, you would no longer be grumpy. That would no longer be pretentious bullshitting. We'd just be nice guys.
And more children will get mauled by dogs.
I usually talk here, but I'm not.
So I'm finally off the hook here, right?
You know I love you, and I love Cirque.
So you started your first story with, I had a girlfriend that I was very fond of, and all I've been thinking about the last hour is I want to hear the stories about the girlfriends you weren't fond of.
No, I was fond of all of them.
Kill the stream, Jared. Bye, everybody.